Elisha had fallen sick, and this was the same sickness that he had died of. And Joash, the king of Israel, came to him and started to cry and said, oh, my father, Elisha, the chariots of Israel, the horsemen thereof. Do you understand that there's a war going on and a battle going on? And I'm really concerned with what's happening. And Elisha said to him, take bows and arrows. And he took unto him bows and arrows. And he said to the king of Israel, Joash, put your hand on the bow. And he put his hand upon it. So this is what he did. He just went over here and he said, come here. Here's the bow. Take it. And I'm going to put my hand, reach out. And he put his hand upon it. And he said, now I want you to go. And I want you to strike the ground and smite the enemy as you strike it. Now I'm preaching you a sermon. These were my dad's last sermon notes.
Amen.
The last sermon notes is this. I found them. And they were wadded up. And they were stuffed inside a Bible. And they fell out and I found them. And I looked at them and I thought, what am I looking at? And then I looked at any of the other notes around them. They were all within the last couple months. And Daddy had not preached in about 6 months since he had preached. But here were these notes. And I looked, I thought, I've never read this like this. Now Elisha had fallen sick with the sickness that he had died of. And the king of Israel came down to him, Joash, and started crying and said, oh, my father, the chariot of Israel and the horsemen thereof. You don't understand, we're in a war and a battle is going to be happening. And Elisha said, take the bows and arrows. And he gave them to him. And he put his hand upon the king's hands. And he said, open the window eastward. So Joash went over and opened the window eastward. And Elisha said, shoot. And he shot the arrows. And the arrow of the Lord's deliverance, and the arrow of deliverance from Syria. For you shall smite the Syrians until you have consumed them. And then he said, take those arrows. And he took them. And he said to Joash, now go and smite the ground. Go smite the ground. And this is what my daddy wrote. How come he only smited it 3 times? How come he only took it and he just knocked down the ground 3 times with those arrows? He said he should have went after that. He should have kicked butt. He should have smote the ground until the war was won. But he only smote it 3 times. And the man of God was angry with Joash and said, you should have smitten the ground 5 or 6 times, but you only did it 3 times. Now, if you don't understand this is in King James. When hast thou smitten Syria till you have consumed it? That means, when have you gone after that army until you were finished? And it was finished, and it was over. When did you step out of the battle and the war? When did you stay and fight it all the way through? I knew what my dad was saying. I'm in the middle of a battle right now, and I'm going to fight it all the way to the very end. All the way to the very end. I smote the ground, and I smote it, and I smote it, and I smote it, and I smote it. Now this kind of puzzled me. Elisha was a man of faith. He parted the Jordan rivers. There was healing of the waters that were stagnant and full of disease. He cursed the attack against him, and a bear came out and attacked. Filling of the valley with water. There's the deception of the Moabites with the valley of blood. There was miracle in the vessels of oil, and I look at all this. There's the prophecy, the Shunammite woman. All of these, what Elijah and Elisha, he had seen them all, and they had accomplished. Elisha was right there in the middle of all these miracles. He saw them all. He knew there was a God. He saw when other miracles had happened that were life-changing, and when the Syrian army was smitten with blindness, and when God restored the sight of a king, and when there was prophecy at the end of a famine, and he was there, and he knew about these miracles. He had been right there, and now he's dying. And in the middle of dying, he said, go smite that ground until you're done smiting it. Fight that battle and stay in it until you have conquered. But no, you just smite the ground 3 times, they ain't going to do it. That'll get you a little way into the battle. Bam, bam, bam. I want you to conquer this for once and for all in your life. In the land of Israel. Now go after this war and conquer it. Now I know I'm picking on your golden calf today. Because some of you, God said, I want you to spend more time with me. And in the middle of this quiet, in the middle of this war that has come around us in sickness and disease, you've gotten really complacent. You did really good the first week. You did pretty good the second week. And now you're kind of bored with it. And I want you to stay in this battle. And I want you to conquer the fact I want time with you every day. I want you to be in my presence in prayer every day. Well, you're slipping up, Deneille, on communion. Yeah, that's actually, why am I preaching to me today? Some of you take communion every day, and then you find the pastor who forgets. I have it there. It's sitting. And I forget it. Why? Because it's not week 1 and week 2. It's week 6. And you grow weary in the thing, and that where God has been stirring you on the inside to pray more, pray more, pray more, pray more. And instead you get lazy-butted. Is that a word? Lazy-butted? Maybe not. But we grow lazy or complacent, or we say, 3 arrows should be enough. 3 smites. Bam, bam, bam. God said, go after that thing and take it out. Deal with your complacency and your lack of consistency. I'm like, okay. We look at what has happened to us and we're like, okay, I can't take any more. Oh, yes, you could. If you needed to. You can still stand. None of you guys here are weenies. None of you are raised in the faith to be weak-kneed. Amen. All of you have strength in you that you haven't even tapped into yet.